like a big shaft.
You like a hardy shaft?
Yeah.
Nice solid tip on this.
Well, it's seen some action.
I can tell there's red all over it.
No, that's
Chris?
that's typically Mr. Scab's microphone.
Yeah, I can tell. Oh, yeah. Smells like the tip. Dick.
Mine is mine doesn't have a smell, but it is lopsided.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Life imitates art.
It's true. Some of these things have a curve. Some of them look like water towers.
It's true. I call it the learning curve.
The learning curve?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
You can always tell whether someone's left-handed or right-handed by the curve of their shaft. And the people who have a completely straight one, it's usually long enough where they use both hands.
You know, this is, let's say you're right-handed, but at some point in your life you switch because it feels like somebody else.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it changes. You never, ever go back because it just doesn't make sense. Like, well, because your hand that you're most familiar with becomes the boring hand.
Yeah. It's like your high school girlfriend. And then you get out of high school and you're like, I want to see what the world has to offer.
Well, are you trying to marry her?
I don't think this time.
No.
No.
Wait a minute. I'm sort of learning. I'm trying to learn how to do a standard intro, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is episode number 2 of Premature Elaboration. I am your host, Mike Terror. If you want to call me that, I really just sit here and talk. And this is a good friend of mine. Who are you? What do you do?
My name is Larry Fenix. I'm the singer of a band called Kemo For Emo. And I do a lot of things. I make music. I make merchandise. Make art. Make music videos. Dick jokes.
Those are really important. That's
Yeah.
what Robin Williams said to default to when you can't think of anything else.
I live in default mode.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Well, I appreciate a good dick joke. We made a few just sitting down.
Mm-hmm. I felt like that was a nice, strong, hearty intro.
Good deal. You know, I am myself a fan of Kemo For Emo. I have been for quite some time.
Appreciate that.
It's in my opinion, it stands next to many greats in the genre, and you guys sort of widened your sound at different points, and it was impressive to me. I was like, hey, they're not one-trick ponies, and the subject matter was always from the heart. That's something that made it relatable to me. And how did that get started?
How did the band get started?
Yeah.
So my best friend Brian, we met in 6th grade, and we were in an English class. And Brian was a straight A student. He was an altar boy in his church. He was like a straight arrow. And they sat me down next to him. And Brian was 2 feet taller than everyone. And I looked over and I said, "Hi, I'm Larry." He said, "Hi, I'm Brian." And the teacher turned out the lights and put on a movie. It was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the old one with the puppets. So I asked Brian, I'm like, "Do you know what a spitball is?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "I'm going to show you." So we made straws, we made spitballs, and we shot at the TV. The lights came on. We got sent to the principal's office first day. And from that point on, we were best friends. And in being best friends, we were introduced to the same music. We both fell in love with Green Day and Blink-182, and then we would go to Fitzgerald's and see Latchkey Kids and River Phoenix and 30 Foot Fall and all those bands. And I'm like, it would be like a goal in life for me to play the stage at Fitzgerald's like my heroes did. And so I told Brian, I'm like, we're going to start a band. I'm like, you're big, get a bass. I'll get a guitar. And we played together ever since. And then right out of high school. I just had a kid at the tail end of high school, and I didn't hear from Brian for like a year or two. He was off doing his own band. I think it was called Captain Fatty or something like that.
I remember that.
And he was the singer, and it was kind of a weird band, but it was very Brian. And he knocked on my door, and he's like, "Hey, dude, my guitarist quit. I need a guitarist for Captain Fatty." And I said, "I'm not playing in a band called Captain Fatty. I'm sorry." So I said, "Tell you what, I have an infant at home. I need an outlet. Let's start a new band." And at the time, like emo was becoming like a real thing. And as a pop punk guy or a punk rock guy, we were making fun of the emo kids hardcore back then. And so I said, let's make a joke band. Let's make fun of emo kids. Let's write sad songs. And so I got black framed glasses because that's what everyone was wearing back then. Uh, and I started writing songs like "Did You Leave Me, Cuz" and "Words to a Sad Song" to make fun of emo kids. And we rented out a storage place off of like Highway 6 and Voss, and we plugged in and we practiced in a storage facility. And then I was like, this is actually kind of fun. Let's do this. And so we kept practicing, kept writing songs. And at the time, I don't know if do you remember EB?
Yes.
EB was our drummer, and EB grew up on my street in Sugarland, and then he moved to Bryan's Street in Sugarland, in two different neighborhoods. And so we played with EB for a while, and then he went off to be a firefighter, and now he's like a oncologist or something, or surgeon. I can't remember. Um, and we needed another drummer, so Brian reached out to one of his friends that was in a band called Man's Red Fire, and he's like, "You guys can use my drummer." His name was Matt Martinez. So Matt came over, and EB's like, "Yeah, I'll show you how to play these 10 songs we had or whatever." And Matt said, like, I listened to them, and he sat down, and he just started playing along with us, and EB literally faded to black. Never had to say a word to Matt. Matt was incredible from the start. And Matt pushed us to start tuning our guitars and, like, actually learning how to play. And Matt made us a better band from that point on. And at that point, we already had a little bit of a following. We were signed to a local label, and we couldn't change our name. And it's the worst name, Kemo For Emo. And I misspelled chemo. Like, it was bad. And so people always asked us back then, what does the band name mean? And a lady at Fitzgerald's came up to us and said, "What does Kemo For Emo mean? Like medicine for emotion?" We're like, "Yeah, we'll go with that."
I like that y'all started it as something as kind of a joke, but then it started to bring out the art in you.
It was an outlet for everything we were experiencing in life, and it always has been. It is literally therapy. Every album that we put out is a different life event for one of us, usually me. Um, and it's my way of getting it out of my brain and putting it out to the world, and then I can deal with it. It's kind of like in Harry Potter, the pensieve or whatever they call it, where they take the wand and they pull the memory out and put it in the little jar and save it. That's kind of how it is for me. Once I get it out, I'm okay with it. But if I keep it in, then it eats me away from the inside.
That's the purpose of art, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that, at least the way I understand it, maybe perhaps people have different motives for art, but I feel like it's sort of like exercising your demons.
100%.
And but it's weird, depending on what they are. There's a saying of, pain's not ashamed to repeat itself. So you end up, I guess you could try to exercise, or you think you've gotten it out, but then it just reforms in a different host, a different beast.
I think that's definitely related to who people are at their very core. It's patterns that we all follow. And we get over one thing, but time and time again we do the same thing, and we come up with the same result. And it's taken me my entire life to figure out that I have to change something, or I'm going to wind up in the same exact place. But in doing that, I've been able to put out a lot of good stuff. And I'm afraid that if I make my life too easy, I'm not going to be influenced to write anything new.
That's a fair point. what was it? My guitar player, Alan, told me, he's like, maybe you should get off antidepressants because, like, the music that you're making just isn't interesting to me anymore. Kind of thing. So maybe you need another tragedy.
Another bout of depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, some things happen in life that doesn't matter what you're on, it's going to tank your ass. And to an extent, he was right. I recently wrote some shit that I'm insanely proud of. One that I'm working on a video for. But it's weird how that works, and I don't know if I necessarily like it. So Happy Me makes Holy Water Enema, and Unhappy Me makes Mike Terror. Weird.
It's very Jekyll and Hyde, though.
Yeah.
In a good way.
At least, I'll say this, and that's the whole reason that Holy Water Enema was made, is I don't like being in a box. So you feel like you can only do one thing in that box. It's time to punch a hole in it.
I agree. I remember back in 2010, I was going through a divorce, a really rough time. And my band, a couple days later, decided that they didn't want to be a band anymore. So I had absolutely nothing. And I was coming home every night. I was laying down on the couch, turning out the lights, and going to sleep and waking up, going to work, and coming back and doing the same thing. Then I get a random phone call from an old buddy of mine from school saying, hey, can you play guitar for this show? We have a really, really big show opening for ICP. And I said,
who the hell was that?
I said, this might be the light at the end of the tunnel for me. And I got up, and I had a purpose. And I got to hang out with my friends, and I got to make music and play music that really embodied how I felt at the time. It was the greatest thrill ride, that 2 or 3 years in Mike Terror that I got to play, and travel to Corpus and go on little tours, and I just had the time of my life, getting up on stage, full makeup, just going off. Making memories with my friends, and that time in that band saved me big time.
This is such a beautiful story.
It's a great story. I think back up very often on it.
We had such a great time during that period of the band, and it was great because you got to come record in studio with us, and got to do backup vocals on songs, and if I could have mixed them differently now, I would have done it a little bit different. I would have liked to have featured you more on things, and I think we were trying to do that at one point with one song, but it never saw the light of day. It was just too, I don't know, man. It was probably outside of our capabilities.
Yeah, I mean that's another part of the journey. There's so many B-sides and things that are wasted, but you still have to get them out. So a lot of it. I've left a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor that I listened to, rough mixes of 10, 15 years later. I'm like, damn, that was good. I should have done something with that. But I got it out. And whether anyone else hears it or not, that's just a bonus. But that time going into the studio, recording, doing backup vocals, even the reunion show, getting to come back out, putting some makeup on, I think it was Numbers, right?
That was a CD release.
The CD release, and getting to come up and do In the Morgue. Was it In the Morgue?
Absolutely. I think you did more than that, didn't you?
I think maybe like 2 or 3. But there's one photo where you have a leg up on a monitor and you're singing, and I have a leg up on the monitor and I'm singing, and it's one of my favorite photos of all time.
It's great.
It was a blast. That was one of the best recoveries of my life. Like, that was a deep, dark time in my life. And then it turned into something else, and I had ownership of who I was again. And in a weird way, I was ashamed of who I was back then because my personal life was falling apart. But I got to become somebody else. I got to create a different character that I could embody and be proud of that wasn't Larry Sanders. I got to be Larry Fenix. That's where that name started. And
are you holding on to that?
I am.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, that's been my name ever since. And ever since the Larry Sanders Show with Gary Shandling came out, you can't Google me but you can Google Larry Phoenix.
I like that.
And it's my daughter's middle name, so I can stake claim to that. But that goes back to the Fitzgerald's days. She was named after River Phoenix, the band in Houston.
Man, I that makes me feel good. That that experience, and it's weird because when you start something, you have no idea how it's going to affect anyone. But that, to me, like if you ask me, there's been several stops on the journey, but hearing that and knowing that it helped somebody that I care about in a hard part of their life makes it all worth it.
Definitely a core memory. I mean, I grew up with you. We had mutual friends. We've been to house parties together. We've been, I've seen your artwork hung up in the school hallways next to my artwork in the school hallways. And I think we've kind of, in one way or another, been chasing each other's creativity. Like, I've been drawn to your creativity. You've been drawn to mine. And it's been that way for a long time. And whether 5 years passes or 10 years passes, we can sit down in the same room and make something cool. That's just the way it's always been.
We don't seem to skip a beat even if we don't talk for like a year.
Yep.
That's special, man.
It's very special.
I dig it.
I still have your picture on the ceiling above my bed. That's never gone away.
Now, I don't have any issue with that. If it makes you feel comfortable at night.
Makes me feel something at night
Really?
and in the morning, and sometimes at like 3:12.
Do you hug yourself and imagine it's my arms?
I have a body pillow that I printed out a picture of your face and put it on, and that pillow has spent a lot of time between my knees.
There's not a hole in it, is there? He's like,
A hole
no.
or B hole. There's some penetration,
You turn it around,
without a doubt.
whisper into its ear.
I'm pulling cotton out of places
Oh,
like a pill bottle.
that's a tough one, man. It's okay though. It's okay. I'm glad we have that type of connection.
We do, and I like how the maturation process that we've both been through, being 40 and over, has not changed whenever we're in the same room.
I think I questioned whether I should just become 35 until I can't pull it off anymore. But I have gray in my beard.
I have gray in all my beards.
Oh, you're right.
There's a lot.
I see it.
Yeah,
But it's not on your head.
it is, if you look close enough.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they say that chicks dig that.
They do.
That's what they say.
They do. For
But,
some reason, they relate that to having money.
oh, well, that's a different subject.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yep. That's how the world is now, though. This upcoming generation's very materialistic.
Jesus Christ.
We've
Would-
reached that
would
point of
disapprove.
age where we're talking about the youngins now.
Man, the other day, I met this dude, and he just had like a completely different presence to him. And he didn't look that young to me, but I asked him, I was like, or it kind of came up naturally in conversation. I was like, so how old are you? He says, oh, I'm 26. It's like, you look like a full-grown man. But like, it wasn't that. It was his presence that was so different to me. It's like this generation is, there's something about the way that they're growing up that makes them just, it's like they're from another planet.
It's an overload of instant gratification and information.
But it was very friendly. So
Good.
whatever happened, it turned him into a nice guy.
That's good.
So I'll
That's
take
really
it.
what matters. I was in a group therapy session at my office, and I came up with this idea that I called the blockbuster theory. And we were talking about the difference between my generation and some of the younger people that work at the office. And my generation, let's just say it's Friday. You get out of school. Your parents drive you to Blockbuster. You look for the latest movie that came out that you wanted to see. You run in the store. You look behind the cover, hoping that you find it. If it's not there, you go up to the counter, see if anyone returned it, that type of thing. So once you got the tape, you were all excited. You go home, you watch it. You rewind it. You maybe watch it again on Saturday, watch it again on Sunday, then return it. And that experience meant the world to you. Nowadays, people open up Netflix. They open up their phone. They open up whatever they're holding, their tablet, and they can instantly have access to every movie ever made. And so they'll start one and watch 10 minutes of it, turn it off, watch another one, watch another one. There's no appreciation for it. It's instant gratification. I had to go out and talk to people. I had to meet people in person. I had to develop a relationship with them in order to see if I want to pursue them romantically. You can open up an app now and window shop for people based on looks and a paragraph. It's instant gratification for whatever you need, so there's no real appreciation for anything tangible anymore. I think that's a huge difference between my generation and the new generation.
And I think it still affects us, though, because we become accustomed to technologies also, comforts and convenience. But at least we have that experience in the beginnings of our lives. And so we can see things both ways. And I guess that makes a big difference to somebody who's never experienced that.
Yeah, I think we're kind of the in-between generation.
Yep. What is it? Gen X was before us.
Yeah, and then you're a millennial?
Well, I'm like right on the cusp.
Yeah.
Apparently. Like if I'd have been born a few days later, I would have been a millennial.
I think I'm a millennial. Yeah.
You know, but I think when you're in that spot, you still have enough perspective. You're not like, because the millennial generation, from my understanding, is it's like what, from 1980 or 1983 to 1980, say 7 or something. So like, you still experienced the 80s and grew up in the 90s in your pivotal formative years. A lot of other millennials did not. So we still have the ability to be critical and say, these fucking kids.
Yeah.
And mean it. And
It's true.
actually have some salt to what we're saying.
Yeah, the difference in work ethic alone, it's very, very different. When I was a kid, I was out mowing the yard, shoveling shit, doing whatever I needed to do, whatever my dad told me to do. Nowadays, if a kid doesn't do something, you take his tablet away, and that's like the worst thing that's ever happened to him. It's just very different.
Well, as a parent, that's kind of a good thing because you didn't have to do much. Took away its link to the world. Its cybernetic arm.
It is weird being my age now and having kids and moving into a neighborhood and looking outside and never seeing kids playing. Like, never. When I was a kid, you leave in the morning, first thing in the morning, you come back once it gets dark. And then there were sleepovers, and like you would hang out with your friends all the time. You would go out exploring, you would do something. I don't see that at all anymore.
The closest thing to it was when Pokemon Go came out.
Yep. Got people outside of the house.
Damn. But they still had their interface to their cybernetic.
Yep.
That's what Elon Musk was saying. It's like people are already cyborgs. It's
Already.
just that the
Device is external.
That's the interface to the our cybernetic part. It's the phone.
Till Neuralink comes out.
What do you think about that? Do you want one?
I would never get one at this point. I think it's a must for human evolution. I think it is, like, I already think we're doomed. I don't think there's very much more we can do. But I believe that is the absolute last step we can do in order to change the outcome of the future in any way at all.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
But you, like you say you would never get one. There's going to be the resistance in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will admit that the first time I started hearing about it, I thought of The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that would be the shit to do like Keanu Reeves and be like,
Yeah.
wow, I know Kung Fu.
Yep.
That would be cool.
Instant
Or to,
upload of information.
right, or to learn things like that.
I think that's great. I think one thing that I would entertain it for. Well, two things. If I had any kind of illness that would cause me to lose myself, Alzheimer's or anything like that, and if something like that could correct it, then yes.
What if you could record and replay memories?
I think that makes them less special. I think the evolution of slowly forgetting something and filling in the gaps with your own creativity makes a memory your memory.
There's a movie about that. Did you ever see Strange Days?
I don't think I did.
The guy who plays Voldemort is the main character.
Ralph Fiennes?
Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But like Juliette Lewis is in it.
Okay.
It's a movie that came out like before the year 2000.
Okay.
But it's fantastic, and it's about that. They have these like squid things. They call them squid. You put it on top of your head. You put a hat over it or a wig or something to hide it, and you would record your memory, the way, like the sensations that your body feels from head to toe,
Okay.
the thoughts that you're thinking, everything.
You can go back and revisit it.
Right, and they record them onto these little discs, and they would sell them on the black market. So
Wow.
like this guy, he's peddling all these memories from other people, and of course there's a whole scape to it. There's a lot of porn, but there's also like snuff clips of
Oh, wow.
somebody like running from the cops, and then they fall off a building and die.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get to feel what that person felt when they died.
Without dying.
Right.
Wow.
It's a cool movie.
Or somebody bangs Angelina Jolie and then you get to relive it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's like the dude that's peddling these tapes. He becomes addicted to it, because he would record his experiences with his ex-girlfriend, and he's obsessed with her.
Mm-hmm.
But like he would come home at night and just still have his intimate moments.
That's the addiction factor. See, I'm a huge control freak, and I feel like I would get stuck reliving those things. Like there's studies in rats that if you can stimulate the brain and give them an orgasm, they would sit there and press the button all day long.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there and press the button all day long. I think that makes things less special. But in terms of what I do think would be useful for, what I would really want is, I personally want to live forever. I never want to die. I would love to upload my consciousness into some sort of a hard drive, clone my body, and upload it to a fresh body.
That's some shit.
I would love to do that because I want to see how the world ends. I want to experience everything. If I had forever, like in Highlander, if I had forever, I would learn every instrument. I would see every place on earth. I would learn every language.
Would you start over with a new identity?
Mm-mm. I'd be me the whole time.
You'd be.
I mean, I'd have to change it in the public eye. Like,
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, if immortality is not a known thing and it's not acceptable, then yeah, I'd have to rebrand myself.
You know what would be tough about that?
What's that?
Is you'd still have like attachments to people.
Mm-hmm. And you'd have to watch them die.
Yeah. But also, like, if you were in that position, would you like go say, "Hey, it's me. This is just my new body now."
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I would live to be, 90, 95, and then start over at 25. And then live to be 90, 95, start over at 25.
You would think they're in that case, I would like a artificially grown body that is already an adult, and nobody knows who they are. They don't have any friends or previous history, so you're not waiting for like, you know what? There's a TV show about this, Altered Carbon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're looking for a fresh start each time.
I remember something about that, like the people that couldn't afford like better bodies ended up getting whatever else there was, and so like sometimes like a 9-year-old kid would die, so they would take them and transfer them into like a 50-something-year-old woman's body, and they're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And their parents are like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah. That would
That's
be
all
rough.
they had.
Yeah, that would be rough. You just get the spare parts.
What an interesting conversation, Mr. Larry.
I think about things sometimes.
Yeah. Deep farts. I mean, deep thoughts.
Very penetrating topic.
Kemo For Emo has been around for 20 years.
20 years, yep.
And you guys just released a line of 20-year merch.
Did.
Is there anything else coming?
There's always something coming. We have 3 more videos coming out in the next like 6 months. We're doing a video for every song on the album.
Man, I respect the fuck out of that effort, you know, because and I'm learning from it. I'm inspired by it because I'm like, maybe I should try to do that, but it takes me so long to make a video. But I guess that's just part of it.
That's part of it, yeah. So, A Picture Perfect Romance back in 2016, I did like a short film. It was 4 videos, all the same actors and everything like that. That entire process to shoot, edit, write, cast, color grade, all that stuff took me 2 years to complete. But I worked on it every single day. And I shot it with 1 camera, and I used this hack in the camera called Magic Lantern at the time. It was the only way you can get a Canon to shoot RAW. And everything I do is based in color. Like color grading is how I set the emotion. And so I needed to shoot RAW. And I could only shoot for 10 seconds at a time. So that entire 46-minute thing was shot 10 seconds at a time.
Wow.
And I learned a lot from that. I learned, when I go back and watch it now, I'm like, oh, I could do that better. I could do that better. But it pushes me and pushes me and pushes me. And technology changes every single day. And so some of the things that I struggled with before, you know, I could shoot on my phone now. It's very different. So the first video that we released for this EP, The Stranger, was a video. My buddy Diego shot it because I was actually in it. Usually I'm not in the video. And the day we shot, my stabilizer wouldn't work. My batteries started melting. My camera overheated. It was 107 degrees. So if you look at the video when we're playing, I'm beet red. I'm sweaty. It did not come out right. We go to an apartment to shoot one scene. The stabilizer doesn't work. The batteries are only lasting for 20 seconds. So that whole video was just a complete mess. And I pieced together the best I could. But
I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
Everything that you shot on that, and I watched it. I watched every single one. I was into the story. You wouldn't be able to tell from just an audience standpoint that you had any of these problems.
That's a huge part of being a director, is problem solving. And I can tell you, on our music video for No Tell, for the Picture Perfect Romance album, the lead girl, Julia, I had 20 extras that day at Super Happy Funland, all in a circle. We were shooting this like hallucination scene, and Julia was the main part of it. The guy, John, the character John, was supposed to crawl towards her in his hallucination, but she couldn't make it last minute. I had all these people. So I looked at all the girls in the circle, and I picked one that had a similar body type. And I sent her to the mall with a bunch of money and said, find pink Converse. And she came back like 2 hours later, and she had Converse. And I shot her from the knees down where he was crawling towards her. Then the very next night, I got Julia in there, and I shot her from the knees up. But I started at her feet with pink Converse to connect the scene and shot her up, and she's reaching out for him. And I cut it together, kept the lighting the same, didn't move any of the lights, and nobody can really tell. But it's stuff like that that, like, by nature, whether it's relationships or my job or anything, I love solving problems, and that to me is the most fun.
That's good, man. Strategic.
It's a lot of fun. I can tell you the happiest moment, besides kids and stuff, the happiest moment in my life where I figured out what I love and what I want to do is after I sat there and I wrote the script for the Straight Line music video. And I set up locations and everything, and I saw it in my brain. And I'm like, okay, this is how I want it to look. And the very next day we shot up set up the shots, and I had the monitor up, and I turned on the camera, and in frame I saw what I saw in my head, and I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was the greatest, most fulfilling moment. And I took my daughter, who was really into filmmaking, and I sat down and I wrote the next scene for the next day with her that night, and her and I talked about it. And she gave me ideas, and we wrote the whole thing, and the next day we went out and we shot the next scene, and she got to see that, and then she got hooked. And it's just amazing to see idea to reality. That is the most fulfilling thing I've ever experienced in my life.
It never ends up being, at least for me.
Never what you imagine?
No, it ends up, in most cases, being better.
I agree. Now, there's elements to shooting. You have your actors. You have your location. You have good weather, bad weather. You have technology failing. You have whatever. And I always find the story in the edit. I never find the story off the paper. And I learned this from Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith doesn't shoot what you see on the screen. He shoots for the edit. So in his mind, as he's moving the camera, he's like, I'm cutting here. Then he'll move over and he'll cut here and cut here in his mind, but he's rolling the entire time. And that's exactly how I shoot. I shoot for the edit because I see the story. Now, let's just say I edit the first 5 minutes of a video and there's some dialogue and the two actors are talking. That will inspire me to change the story sometimes. I'm like, this is making me feel sad. Something sad should be here. And I put myself in their shoes. And then I change the script, and I change the script, and I change the script, and then I find it in the edit every single time, and it's always different.
That's been happening to me with the most recent video I'm working on. And it's not something I expected to see, but I'm thinking maybe it's because of, like when you're working with actresses or actors, sometimes unintended things happen, unexpected things, but like it ends up, you see elements that start building a story. And then in my case, a music video, there's things that you never expected to like fall in line with certain lyrics and stuff like that, and it just fits perfectly in a unexpected way.
That's very true. Because it's your story. If you write the lyrics and you make the video, sometimes you'll see an actor or an actress do something, and you're like, that's exactly what happened in this song. So I need to move this scene to this part of the song because it will hit harder. It will make more sense. And then you have to fill in the gaps, and then the gaps get better.
I'm finding that.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a little bit.
When I was shooting that first set of videos, I found Julia through a casting call, and she played Camille in the videos. And we had another guy that was going to play the love interest, but he ended up falling out the night before we shot. So Kessler jumped in. Kessler is a good friend of ours. He drives our bus when we tour and things like that. And he jumped in. And so they're mismatched. They don't look like they should be together at all.
Like a lot of couples, though.
Exactly. But it kind of worked. What was that?
He looked good on film.
He's very interesting. And he's a good actor, and he got the part. He was passionate about it. I'm forever grateful for what he did for that video, or for those videos. But I noticed that, like, I know Kessler in real life, I know Julia in real life, but when I'm editing this stuff for 100 hours and I'm watching the interaction, they become those characters, and I fall in love with those characters.
Nice.
And then when I see them in person, it's almost upsetting because I'm like, you are these characters. If I'm color grading Julia and her lips are bright red and her eyes are blue, and I'm just looking at her and I'm like, this is a movie star, And I look at Kessler and his beard is like Thor, and I got it like graded to where you see every little wrinkle in his face when he's upset. I'm like, this guy's passionate. This guy's, going through something. And then I see him in person. And they're like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" I'm like, it's not my characters, but it's still like, it's a wonderful thing to see make believe become something that's like so powerful emotionally.
I dig it, man. So I saw the last music video that you guys made, and this recent release, 3.5-inch floppy. It's a great dick joke.
Thank you.
Um,
Small, but it gets the job done.
exactly, and I knew it immediately when I heard the title. I was like, "This is perfect." Who came up with that?
That was me. Yeah.
Of course it was.
Yeah. This album, I'm just happy that I get to hang out with my friends and do hood rat things. And that's why I like everyone that has never met us and they've seen our videos, they think we're like these deep, dark kind of people. But all we do are, we tell perverted jokes and laugh at farts and stuff. And so I wanted to finally have a video that reflects who we are as people in real life.
It's really nice to tell the other side. To show people like, hey, we're human also.
Yeah.
That's something over the last few years I've been learning to do as well. And I think like Holy Water Enemas kind of helped me do that a little bit. We got songs about dicks, poo-poo, and diarrhea. And the next record, tentatively titled Nuts Out, is a two-pronged thing. Most of the subject matter is a little bit sexual, but the idea behind the record is it's a message of encouragement. Like a motivational speaker point. You should live life with your nuts out, and if you're not really living. So, like,
I like
when
that.
you walk into a room and you feel, anxious or nervous or hesitant about anything, imagine walking up in that bitch with your nuts hanging out your fly. Put your hands on your hips, thrusting your pelvis forward. You're like, yeah, bitch.
You can't take anything too seriously.
Exactly.
It's a lot of people that I know, because the industry I work in, they're nervous for job interviews, especially if they're meeting with an owner or a CEO or something like that. And what I like to tell them is everyone shits. Everyone wipes their ass.
That's perfect.
And you can take somebody who's a multi-billionaire, the head of, thousands of people at a company, but once a day, twice a day, that guy sits down, he shits, and he wipes his ass just like you do. And it humanizes people. And I think the Nuts Out humanizes people.
For sure. And especially with this generation now, I'm noticing it a lot with the kids these days. They're just something created like this amplified anxiety. And like, they're not like us. When we were kids, we just wanted to get out and, we were full of piss and vinegar and we were getting in trouble and doing all kinds of shit.
We're pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
They're information overload.
They don't even know that they wouldn't know what to do with themselves if they left the house. In some ways that's good, but in some ways that's horrible, man.
Yeah, and I do think it's just the next step of evolution. I think we're going to start slowly losing our humanity and slowly start relying solely on technology in every single way. That song I wrote a couple years ago called Unprepared on Children of Oblivion, it's about exactly that.
Dude, that's an amazing song.
Thank you. That's my fear in seeing the way that the world is slowly turning into, like, we're the people who built the bridges, who built the buildings, who created the entire infrastructure of where we live, they're slowly dying off, and they're working into their 80s and 90s because kids these days sit behind a computer.
What would we do if all the old men died today?
Yep. That's a huge fear of mine, but I see it coming true more and more every day.
I've been listening to people talk about something similar to this, but I think there's still some aspects, some cultures in society that are maintaining the things that we fear are going away. And I mean, it used to be, piss and vinegar and experience and skills, things like that used to be way more prominent.
Mhm.
And that's definitely changed, but it's in some ways it's still there. And I'm wondering, like if in South Park, it's the handyman that's going to
Mhm.
be the next billionaire,
Yeah.
and not not exactly like that, but something similar.
I agree. It's a skill set that is slowly becoming extinct, and the most basic things that people did when we were kids, uh, the new generation just has no idea how to do, and so it will become a commodity at some point.
Or maybe it'll be robots and cyborgs powered by AI that do all of the dirty jobs, and the rest of us just live in the pods and eat the bugs.
So Wally,
Yes.
yeah, I see that happening too.
But, people probably won't even fuck anymore. They'll just be these gelatinous forms inside their pod,
Demolition Man.
and then,
We put on headsets and that's all we do.
well, I'd like to think there would still be some sort of apparatus that they think probably feels better than actual sex.
So something we can plug in that stimulates that part of our brain.
Sure, because it has to compete. If it's superior, I mean, they've got the Auto Blow 2.0 AI,
Mm-hmm.
as seen in Dave.
Is that the double grip?
Well, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay.
You know something I
I
don't
know a little bit. I'll show you in a bit.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. It is Christmas.
Hey. Sharing is caring. Nudge, nudge.
Got a big red sack for you.
Oh boy, we'll sterilize it.
Let's not.
Oh, you want me to leave some flavor behind? Huh?
I want you to go out in the parking lot and jog for 10 minutes and then come back
Well,
wearing a trash bag.
I don't know if that's necessary. We've been sitting here with the AC off for about 30 minutes. So any funk that would be generated may already exist.
Yeah, there's a lot of Elon Musk going on right now.
That's cute.
Thanks.
You gonna get a Cybertruck?
I was until I was let down by the specs and the price. I get it, but for me, I had a Model 3 Performance, and it's still my favorite vehicle I've ever had. But the range killed me. If I, for a while when I had it, I lived at a house, so I could charge every night, and it was great. It cost me like $20 a month to drive. But the second I moved to an apartment where there was no charging, it just became a hassle. I had to sit in the Galleria parking lot and wait in line for 2 hours to charge for 30 minutes to get 250 miles.
Yeah, fuck all that.
Until I see a vehicle with 500 plus actual real world miles, I'm going to have to stick. I had a Bronco, like a jacked up Bronco, and I was driving like an hour and a half to work every day. I was filling up 3 times a week. So I said, screw that. I traded that in, and I got a Ford Maverick Hybrid. And now I get like 50 miles a gallon in this little tiny pickup truck, and it's just a blast. I fill up like once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're nowhere near getting rid of fossil fuel cars.
No, I think hybrid right now is the way to go.
Yeah.
Until charging becomes 5 to 10 minutes for a full charge, and until just the energy density in batteries gets higher, I don't think we're there. But we're doing what we have to do in order to get there, and they have to fund it somehow, so we have to put the cars on the road.
Word.
A big fan of electric vehicles.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool concept.
Performance is unbeatable.
I'm no expert or anything, but it sounds like there's, if you're like coming at it from an environmental perspective, it's not really helping anything.
Not at all. In some ways, making it worse with all the mining
Sure.
for the
Also,
materials needed.
Humanitarian side of things is pretty fucking ugly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just eventually. I think the important thing to acknowledge is that people on planet Earth, societies, are trying and making progress, but we're just not there.
Yeah. We're in the in-between stage. I would give it 15 years, and I think we'll be in a place where either transportation will change completely or an alternative fuel source will become available that would make sense. But I think we need to get to a place where we don't have to deal with traffic anymore. I think public transportation needs to be a much bigger thing within a city to city. I think we can learn a lot from Japan in that way. With
Not to
bullet trains.
mention transportation of like goods and services, raw materials,
Yep.
all that stuff. Like,
Yeah, we're so far away from being able to haul stuff with electric vehicles. I mean, the range isn't there, and we're still powering, for the most part, powering these vehicles with fossil fuels to charge them. So
for sure.
there's a lot that needs to change, but like I said, we're figuring out the future right now.
That's the meme, right? You've got the Tesla with the generator being hauled from the back.
Yep. Been there once. But it is the most fun vehicle I've ever been in.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was about to say that.
And that's what it is. It's an affordable supercar that's dead quiet, that can drive itself, that looks cool, and that's what it is. I made a bunch of memories in that car, and I love it. And still to this day, I wish I had it, but it just doesn't make sense right now.
It sounds like people that that can afford like a main vehicle and a fun car. Like that's the fun car, and then you have your business.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, we're a ways away, but we'll get there.
So I don't fucking want one anymore.
I think they look cool. I think it's a great idea.
This is me. I want a fucking I want a Cybertruck that runs on gas. And they don't make one. We're probably not going to get one.
Give it like 2 or 3 years, somebody will make one.
A hybrid at least.
Yeah. Somebody will make something close.
Yeah. I just like it because it's what the future looked like in the 80s. And,
You heard what Elon Musk's son said about that, right?
No.
He said, "Why doesn't the future look like the future?" And that's what made him make the Cybertruck.
Nice.
And now, when he presented it, he said, "Now the future looks like the future." And I can appreciate that because it does.
He even made shoes.
I haven't seen those.
There's if you look, there's a picture of Kanye West and Elon Musk standing next to each other, and Elon has on Cybertruck shoes.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now, why he didn't market those and mass produce them, I'll never know.
He can make
would've bought them.
flamethrowers, but Cybertruck shoes would have been cool.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'd be wearing them right now
Yeah.
instead of these handsome
Back to the Future
boys.
Marty McFly's, self-lacing.
The LED lights don't work anymore.
It's okay.
I covered them in fake shit for a music video.
And then they stopped working.
Yeah,
Why was it fake shit?
because models and actresses don't like to be covered in
Fair.
real shit.
What did you use?
I used it was like it was pudding mix, but with a lot more liquid.
Okay.
So it didn't become pudding, and I think it might have been soda,
Okay.
but it exploded. And you saw the diarrhea
Yeah.
video.
Yep.
I mean, it was a lot of fun to test the mechanism that launched the shit.
That in
was-
itself would have been a great behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've still got some footage of it, but it's really just me looking nerdy in the backyard going, "Hoo."
Which is all we want to do anyway.
Yeah.
The goal of being an adult is doing all the things we want to do as a kid. and we couldn't.
Exactly, because nobody's going to tell us that we can't.
That's right.
So I can launch poo-poo on boobs.
I mean, that sounds like a great time to me.
It
I feel like that's the 13-year-old me's dream. It's like I would love to see that.
I'm telling you, I've done it now.
Yeah.
I've
Check that
aimed
off.
a shit cannon at tits and ass, and it worked.
I mean, it's the American dream.
And really, we could just call it quits at this point.
I mean,
Say these are my accomplishments in art.
just
The
be done
F
with
is
it.
silent in art.
I like that.
It's in
That'd be a great
parentheses.
T-shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the word like in parentheses F, lowercase, and then all caps art,
Mm-hmm.
and then in small text the F is silent.
That's great. It's like the function of art. It's fine.
I used to say that. I worked with a guy that his last name was Farr, Pharr, and when I would tell people like about him, I would interject, it'd be like the T is silent,
It's good.
but I would be completely serious about it.
Just straight face.
Yeah, and sometimes people picked up on it and reacted. Sometimes they didn't.
That's like I have a buddy named Brock at my office, and every once in a while we'll get energy drinks, and I'll walk up to him and I'll say, "Hey, do you want a white Monster?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right. Do you want anything to drink?" Or I'll say something like, I'll text somebody and I'll be like, "All right, I'm gonna hit the sack," and eventually at some point go to bed. I love those types of jokes.
Zing,
Yeah.
zing, zing, suck on my zing-a-ling. Stop looking at me like that.
I always look at you like that. Like I want to eat you out.
Is there anything else you want to talk about on this this here podcast? Drop
Only
a
thing-
promotion for something. Give
I
a-
mean, I have music videos coming out. I have merch out like always. But mainly, I have to say that I am very glad that you are doing this. This is a format that I think you will thrive in. I'm very proud of you for doing this and executing on it. And as always, I'm honored to be a part of it. And I love you. And I think great things are going to come out of this for you.
I appreciate that. You know, when the idea was presented to me, I was like, wait, do you think I'm good at conversation? They're like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm not even close to being good at public speaking, but I guess it's different because we're just having conversations between us.
It's just like when we would sit in the backyard drinking Four Loko and 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning and having the deepest conversations ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
I'm
a great
into it.
format for you.
Well, I want to be able to provide a voice to people that I think need to be heard. And if there's anything I can do to help make that happen, this is probably it.
It is the whole podcast thing, the whole interviewing thing, to me, is modern day scrapbooking. And so when you're 95 years old and you want to look back on your life or look back on your friends and remember old stories that you'll probably forget, that's what this is doing for you. You're interviewing people that you love and respect or interest you. You're asking the questions that you want to ask. And you're creating a video diary that you can play back when you're old and gray and remember absolutely everything from the mouths of the people who experienced it with you.
Drop your social media, son.
Instagram, I'm the Larry Fenix, and that's Fenix. I'm Larry Fenix, K4E on Facebook. I don't have TikTok, and I'm Larry Fenix on X,
Word up.
and the Larry Fenix on Grindr.
Nice. Kemo For Emo just dropped a record recently called 3.5-inch Floppy, and it's, man, it's fucking good.
Thank you.
It's just, it's a solid record. If you like punk rock, or just, they have a real talent for just really solid melodies that catch you, and with everything that they do, even if it was accidental in their beginnings, the lyrics and the songs have substance, and it's stuff that you can, or at least for me, I find relatable in a lot of ways, and I just solid music, solid people, solid contribution to the world of art, and it's been an honor to have you on, buddy.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Love you, man.
Love you too, homeboy.
Touch tips.
Oh, I was like, the bedroom's over there.
No. We're doing it on the couch.
Oh.
Yeah, you leave the cameras going.
Wait, are we go gadgeting?
I mean, we can.
Go gadget tips.
Just the 2 pink tips.
Fuck yeah.